Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to talk about Babylonian numbers. Isn't this tablet amazing? This is from over, let's see, almost 4,000 years ago. This is a long time ago. And I think that there's a tablet like this in the Brooklyn Museum. You can see how they made their numbers by pressing into clay to make little sideways shapes and then little down shapes. This was the symbol for 1, and then the sideways shape was the symbol for 10. So it looks like it's additive because you make 36 by doing 3 tens and then 6 ones. But it was actually a place value system. Mayan is the same way. Mayan looks like it's additive because you're repeating those dots, but in the end, they had a different value for each place going up. The Babylonians had a different place value for each place going across, the way we do in Hindu Arabic. So this is the ones place right here, and this is the 60s place over here. So we have 1 in the 60s place and 2 in the ones place. That makes 62. So if we wanted to make a number like 123, you'd have to divide by 60 because you have a 60s place. So you have 2 in the 60s place. That's 120 so far, and then 3 more in the ones place. And you can subtract to see how much is left that you need for the ones place. Now, if you have a much larger number like 683, it's fine to use your calculator here and divide by the 60s place here. You get 11, and you can put 11 in the ones place. That's okay. You're allowed to go all the way up to 59 in the ones place since you're in base 60. And then there were 23 left. So 59, sorry, in any place, not just the ones place, but also in the 60s place and the next place value up, right? You're allowed to go up to 59. So here we have 11 in the 60s place and 23 in the ones place. And you do that same system of sort of dividing, see how much you have, and then subtract to see how much is left. Now, for a much larger number like 3,670, you need the next place up. The next place up was 60 squared, 60 to the second power. And so that's 3,600. Sometimes people get a little confused because the Mayans, it was 360 was the next place up, so be a little careful about that. Now, the Babylonians did not have a symbol for 0, and it would have been helpful if they had one, because if you look at this, this 1 could be over here in the 3600s place if you imagine that there's a space there. But what if there wasn't a space? It's hard to tell. We go back to this stone tablet here. It's really hard to tell. Is that a big space or a little space between the two numbers? I can't tell. So going back to our 0 here, this could be 61, right? Or it could be 3,601, or even worse, it could have been 3,600. This is in the 60s, and the space comes after those numbers. So that seems like a huge problem, but I think their civilization was so much smaller than ours. Only about 40,000 people lived in their largest city, as opposed to how big New York City is. So it's pretty likely that they knew if their neighbor had 61 goats or 3,601 goats, which would make a lot more noise and take up a lot more space, right? So I don't think the Babylonians missed that 0. And I think it's interesting to try to figure out what different kinds of numbers you could have if you imagine where the 0 is. Gives you a good appreciation for our 0 and for place value. So that's all for this video. See you in the next one.